Today's guest started out as a rodeo producer and now produces one of the largest fly fishing YouTube channels in the country. His program travels all over the country and world, giving you the best education and tips on putting together great trips. Today, we're heading into Chile to find out how they find large trout and how you can do it on the fly. This is the Wet Fly Swing podcast, where I show you the best places to travel to for fly fishing, how to find the best resources and tools to prepare for that big trip, and what you can do to give back to the fish species we all love. How's it going? I'm Dave, host of the Wet Fly Swing podcast. I've been fly fishing since I was a little kid. I grew up around a little fly shop and have created one of the largest fly fishing podcasts in this country. I've also interviewed more of the greatest fly anglers and fly fishing producers than just about anyone out there. Mark Melnyk, new fly fisher producer, and the person who took over for Colin McKeown after he passed away this year, is going to share some tips on traveling and with a little bit of a focus on fishing Chile and big trout. You're going to hear about the story of Colin McKeown, who was diagnosed with terminal cancer over 7 years ago and kept going strong until just recently this year. We're going to hear that big story. Plus, we're going to find out about cherry salmon and how they might be better than steelhead, and what the Magic Waters for Giants are all about. Magic Waters for Giants. All right, let's get into it. Here he is, Mark Melnyk from thenewflyfisher.com. How you doing, Mark?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me, Dave. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for putting time aside today to touch base on this. We're going to be talking, we got a lot to cover here today. We're going to be talking about the new fly fisher. We're going to be talking about a trip to Chile. I know you guys are traveling all around. And we're also going to talk about Colin McKeown because he passed away here this year. We did a kind of a tribute episode. I had him on way back in episode 84 in 2019. And I was surprised. I didn't know. So I want to touch base on that and maybe just give people a kind of focus of where the new fly fisher is going and all of that. So but what's going on with you? Where are you at right now, and how's the fishing looking?
Fishing's been looking great. We've got low water here. I'm in central Ontario, about an hour and a bit north of Toronto. And it's been a great season, summer fishing for warm water species. And now that the weather's turned cold and the salmon have done their thing, the steelhead are trickling in now. And I actually got to have a shoot coming up next week, sort of my home water. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, things are great. The weather's been crazy, everything seems to be bumped a month to the right. So I don't mind warm water or warm weather fishing, and you don't have to battle the cold and the snow and all that stuff. So migratory rainbow trout are a lot of fun, and the Great Lakes has them in spades.
Yeah, they do, and we've been up there a few times fishing more of the South Shore Lake area with Jeff Liskay and Rick Custich out there. And it's been unbelievable. We had one year, I think the last year we were there, we had some higher water, but we still were able to find some fish, which was great. But yeah, maybe let's start with the new fly fisher. Let's give an update. Like I said, Colin passed away. Maybe you could just start there with Colin. I had him on the podcast. I didn't know him that well. Was this, I guess I've heard from some folks that this was not a new, he's been struggling with some stuff, right, the last few years. But maybe give us an update first on Colin, how all that came to be, and if the new fly fisher is changing, or is it going to be the same deal from here on out?
Colin and I first started working together 25 years ago. I was a rodeo producer at Outdoor Life Network, which then switched to Versus. So I was producing for television, PBR events and Calgary Stampedes and that sort of thing. And working at Outdoor Life Network back 25 years ago, this ginger-haired, tall dude walks in and presents to my boss a show concept idea. Anna called me in after Colin left. I shook his hand and met him and that sort of thing. And she said, take a look at this pilot, this trailer for a possible new series called The New Fly Fisher. It's an educational show on how to fly fish and where to fly fish and who to fly fish with. And, being a conventional angler, I was all over it. I said, this is absolutely fantastic. So I met Colin right when he pitched the idea to my then boss. And we had stayed in touch as coworkers and friends over the years. And, not getting into the weeds about it, but there were a bunch of layoffs that happened in Canadian sports. And I was a victim of that. So I found myself without a job. And Colin knew that I loved to fly fish, and he called me and said, hey, I know you're down on your luck. Do you mind, would you consider hosting a couple of shows for me this season? And I said, oh man, that'd be a dream. Thank you so much. And that's the kind of guy that Colin was, right? He was loyal to a fault. He would I know it's a cliche, Dave, but
Yeah.
he would literally give you the shirt off his back. He would not let you stay in a hotel when you went to his hometown. You stayed in his house. You ate dinner with his family. And so I did 9 episodes of the new Fly Fisher that season. And then he fired me. He laid me off for his daughter Jenna, who needed a summer job.
Oh, yeah.
And that was fine. And then a couple seasons later, I got a phone call, and Colin was not his usual upbeat self, and his wife was on the phone, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? And he told me that he was sick. And this was 7 years ago, that he had an inoperable tumor. He was terminal, basically.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, they gave him 3 months to live. So Colin, being the guy that he is, dug his heels in and fought. And he fought and he fought and he fought and he fought. After that initial phone call, when he told me, about 3 months later, he called me and said, I want to start doing some things that I really like. He's a military guy. He was in the Navy, and he wanted to do some more military programming. And he said to me, would you like to buy the TV show from me so that I can focus on military programming? And I said, what does that look like, man? Like, what do you see? He says, I'll just sell you the whole thing, 100%. I'll work with you for 6 or 8 months for the transition, and it'll be yours, and you can do with it what you want. And I said, absolutely not. I said, no way, man. Like, you're the brand, you're the face, you have the relationships. And I politely turned him down, which was very difficult to do. And about 3 months later, he sent me an email and said, get your wife on the phone. Heather and I want to talk to you. And Jen came on the phone with the 3 of us, and they offered a 50-50 partnership in the show. See, I come from network, Dave, right? So if I'm commissioned to do a show, the network pays for that show to be made, right? Whether it was Guided or Real Jobs or Real Road Trip or whatever series we were doing. But this model is you have to go and find the funding for the show. So that's why he wanted to stay on and for the education part to teach me how to sell and how to be a salesman. So I said, now you're talking the game. And we became partners 7 years ago, 50-50, with the idea that after 2 years, I would, take over for him and he could carry on doing his military programming or whatever it was that he wanted to do. Well, then COVID hit, and that put everything on hold for a number of years, as we all remember. And then coming out of COVID, once everything opened up again, we started talking about the overtake. And we were fortunate enough that on June 25th of 2024, we signed the papers to have me acquire 100% of the company, which I'm very grateful that we were able to do that, because, that was June 25th, and September 18th, he passed.
Wow.
So we were able to get all of that buttoned up before, and then that would have gotten messy if he wasn't here to do the deal and all that sort of thing. The show probably wouldn't exist today. So, but luckily we got it done, and I was able to see him the week before he passed. I went up and visited him. He had some business stuff that he wanted to talk about, and basically, called me. And it's a 5-hour drive for me to go to the production office, and that's not a big deal. But he wanted to say goodbye.
Yeah,
he knew that it was coming, and we had some tears, and we were able to say a proper goodbye. And then that next week, Heather called me and told me that he had passed because they were trying to do a procedure to try to stop the tumor from being a tumor. So,
right.
But I'm very fortunate to have had him as a friend and as a mentor for the last 25 years, and and now I've got Colin's joie de vivre, his spirit, hovering over me in a positive way now and guiding me through decision making. And I constantly ask myself, what would Colin do in this situation? Right. What would Colin do? And that education has really helped me to be able to continue producing the show and making it bigger, stronger, better. And I'm really excited for the future of the new Fly Fisher. Next year is our 25th anniversary of making fly fishing episodes. And he told me, he's like, Mark, you can continue riding this way for another 25 years. It's funny because I was the same age when we became partners that he was when he started the show.
Oh yeah.
Right. So it's kind of cool just sort of taking over. So with respect to the show, we are working diligently to drive our audience to great locations and teach them things that, that they may not have seen in other fishing platforms. We've got a great lineup of hosts that are all guides. So they're great communicators and they've got time on their hands.
Yeah.
So I can send them in the field for 3 or 4 weeks at a time and not have to worry about, day jobs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited for the future.
That is awesome. No, that's yeah, I mean, it is obviously a sad year, Colin, being gone, but I mean, he was thinking about it, right? Leaving his legacy and having you in the helm to keep it moving forward. And I mean, that's amazing that you guys were able to put this together. And does it look like the new fly fisher now looking ahead is going to be, it sounds like it's going to be more of the same good stuff you've been doing because you've got a good model, right?
Yeah, the model works great. And when I came on board 7 years ago, coming from a network background where my job was to tell compelling stories, you'll notice that we've actually changed the format of the show then to actually make it more of a documentary series to show people, if let's say they're going to Three Rivers Ranch in Ashton, Idaho, what that experience is actually going to be like, what the guides are like, what the food is like, what the hosts are like, and I'm very proud to be able to take phone calls and emails from people that are planning their next fishing vacation and saying, you know what, we had a great experience at XYZ Ranch or XYZ Outfitter. Check out the episode on YouTube to be able to see what it could be like for you. And it's a great tool to get people to go different places to fly fish. I answered one this morning, a gentleman and his son who doesn't fly fish, wanted some operations in Idaho and Wyoming. So I'm more than happy to showcase our travel partners and get people, we do have the saying that, we're fortunate enough to work in fly fishing, but our real job is heads in beds and butts in boats.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we do. And we're just fortunate enough that fly fishing is the canvas in which we get to play.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it. So you guys are basically traveling around the country, the world, checking out new locations and then educating people while you're there. And how do you guys, I mean, this is always, I think when I had Colin on, we'll put a link to that episode 84, we talked about some of this, but I mean, essentially that's it. When you plan things out, how do you look ahead, like say the next year, 2, 3 years to where you're heading?
Yeah. So with our travel partners, what I'll do is, let's say it's, for example, I'll use a great partner that we've had for almost the whole time we've been doing the show called Destination Ontario. And they're a tourism group. They run tourism in the province of Ontario here in Canada. And I'll call my client, my contact, who's absolutely wonderful, and say, who needs help? For example, we know a lot of lodge operators and owners are phasing out because of age, right? So younger generations are taking over these operations and they need the marketing help to be able to make anglers aware that they're there, right? So I'll ask who needs help and what can we do to help drive the tourism media bus? And they'll give me a list of lodges and I'll call the lodges up and say, hey, I'm Mark from the New Fly Fisher. We want to help you market your business. Are you interested in hosting us? And the great thing is that the only thing that is the responsibility of the lodge owner or the outfitter is all they have to do is give up time, right? That's it. There's no cost to them in any of this, which is fantastic. We do have partners that do pay for us to come, but it's the majority of our sort of wish with our partners is that they're not out of pocket in any way other than time and resources, and they can reap the benefits of hosting us for 4 or 5 days, exploring their region. So it's a great model.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. And the YouTube, right? I mean, obviously, Colin talked about that on that podcast episode, the transition of getting into YouTube. And I mean, since then, you guys have grown this channel, right? It's pretty big. It's one of the bigger channels out there, right, in the fly fishing space?
It is, absolutely. And, we're getting close to 200,000 subscribers, which blows my mind, Dave. Like 200,000 subs for a niche sport of fly fishing. And what I see is, we do have a lot of fly anglers that frequent our channel and watch our stuff, but we do also have a lot of conventional anglers that will watch not only for locations, but they'll watch for tips on how to approach certain situations. Because as you know, if you're throwing an articulated fly for northern pike, there's no difference between that and a jointed rapala, right? So they can learn from the nuances of fly fishing and transfer that to the conventional world. which is fantastic. And we get a lot of people that tell us that, like, I've never picked up a fly rod before, but this information is invaluable. And YouTube just gives us a broader market. I mean, we have subscribers from all over the world. And, that excites me because that means that they're interested in what we do and they're coming to North America, right? They're coming to North America to experience what they've seen. I will tell you, though, that, with that success in subscribership comes a very, very, very big responsibility that we don't take lightly in protecting sensitive watersheds, right?
Yep.
So I'm a hated man in
Right.
Du Bois, Wyoming, right? I'm an absolutely hated man because I went and I shot a show there, and some of the locals are accusing me of blowing spots. Well, if you watch the episode, we don't mention rivers. We don't tell people how to get there. A trick of the trade is, we won't shoot anything upon our approach to a river, but we will shoot it as we're leaving, like we're approaching the river. So you don't ever see what you would see as you're walking to the river, right? It's all backwards.
Oh, right.
Right. So, with that subscribership does come the responsibility of protecting sensitive watersheds and, telling people that, you need to hire a guide. Like a lot of these places, like we're fishing on the Nottawasaga River, coming up next week here in Central Ontario, which is a big river, which can sustain pressure, right? But it's a big river and it can be dangerous. So hire a guide, guys. Like don't risk your life. Your learning curve grows exponentially with a guide, and you're helping contribute to the economy. So it's a really cool model, and I'm grateful to be able to be involved in it.
Yeah, that is awesome. No, I think the guide, we've talked about that a lot on here and had lots of guides on. It's, you can learn it by yourself, and DIY is great, but if you want to kind of flatten the learning curve a little bit and have more success faster, a guide is the way to go, right?
100%.
And so that's
100%.
awesome. And today I think we're going to be talking about some guides I think we're going to focus on Chile a little bit. That's a place that, I know a lot of people are interested in going down. It's kind of a little bit of a travel, to get down there, but Magic Waters is an area you guys have been going to. So maybe let's kick this off a little bit on that. How did, maybe talk about this area that you guys are going to. Is this just a trout trip or other species involved?
Yeah. So this trip that we're doing, Tom Rosenbauer and I are heading down to a little town called Balmaceda in Patagonia. And what we are doing is we will be targeting brown trout and rainbow trout in lagunas, ponds, spring creeks, giant rivers, like the size of Niagara River kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
And, because their seasons are opposite being in the Southern Hemisphere, we're coming into their mid-spring, right? And fish are looking up. I've been down there 4 times and I've never nymphed for these fish. It's always been with big terrestrials, dry fly fishing, mice, that kind of thing. It's a great, great way to, get out of the cold in North America and experience, just world-class fish. And the fishing is crazy down there because primarily Chile and Argentina are red meat centric. A lot of cattle, a lot of lamb. They don't eat fish. So the fisheries down there, well, they do, but you know what I mean? Not compared to red meat and stuff like that. But, they've now realized that they've got a tourism destination for people that love to fly fish, and they're capitalizing on it. So it's when you step off the plane and go into Balmaceda, the town, it's literally like stepping back in time. I mean, there's still gauchos on horseback that are herding sheep down the road kind of thing. There is it is absolutely fantastic. The people are super friendly. The fishing is, another cliche is world class, but it is because they don't see the pressure that a lot of, let's say, Western American streams see. There may be a spring creek that sees 4 rods a year kind of thing.
Right. Wow.
And there's just hundreds and hundreds of opportunities based out of this one little area. So the fishing is just crazy. And the people are great. The weather's weather, and you got to deal with it as it comes. You come prepared for all 4 seasons. But fishing in the mountains and it's safe, and it actually has ruined trout fishing for me because it is just so spectacular. It really is.
This year, I ventured into the heart of eastern Idaho's Yellowstone Teton territory, where the fish were larger than life and the waters held the secrets of the best fly fishing out west. With crystal clear rivers like the Henry's Fork and the South Fork of the Snake, and enough lakes to keep you going all year long, make your way to Yellowstone Teton territory and embark on a journey to one of North America's finest fly fishing destinations. It's time to experience Eastern Idaho for yourself and support this podcast at the same time. Unleash your fly fishing potential with Togens Fly Shop. Discover their premium products, including fly tying materials, hooks, and a wide range of tying and fishing gear trusted by anglers since 2005. Shop now and make this year your best with their expert tutorials and top quality gear. Visit togensflyshop.com right now. You can support a great shop and this podcast by checking out Togens right now. So so you guys are going down there soon. What is the time you guys are heading down?
Yeah, so Tom and I land in Balmaceda on the 30th of November. That's the first trip. And then we have another trip in there fall in March. So we're going to hit both shoulder seasons and just fish for big fish on big drives. It's an absolute hoot.
Huh. What is typically, if you're somebody who's looking to book a trip, are those, what is the time they're, focused? If you'd say the best times to get down there, are those the two times?
Well, shoulder seasons are great because there are fewer anglers. So Magic Waters Patagonia has 3 outfits. They've got Magic Waters Patagonia Lodge, which is sort of their grandparent place, which is it's the oldest place. And it's not even that old. I think it's less than 7 or 8 years old. And that's sort of the hub. And from there, you do day trips, walk and wade and float to a variety of different streams and ponds and lakes and things. And then they've got a place called Magic Waters River of Dreams. And that's on the Rio Blanco. And what's interesting about that is that's either helicopter access only or horseback. So it's a 4-hour horseback ride in and out, or an hour helicopter ride. And what's unique about the River of Dreams is that Magic Waters is the only game in town. They have 60-some kilometers, so 45 miles of river that is bookended by a massive rapid on the upstream side. And then a huge, and I mean huge, boulder that has fallen into the river and has blocked all passage up or down to access anything below that, 45 miles away. So they literally have exclusive fishing rights, or the ability to fish that place. And they only take 6 rods at a time. So again, it's like stepping back in time, and the water is just crystal clear. The fish are hungry. The fish are just crazy. But the cool thing about the River of Dreams is that it has spring creeks that feed it. So let's say you're done fishing a day on the Rio Blanco, you can, go back, have a cocktail, wader up again and walk behind the camp. And they've got this fantastic, small, tiny little spring creek that is right behind the camp that harbors giant brown trout, right? So It's a fantastic place. You're sleeping in raised tents, canvas tents that are heated, and anything that you can dream about of staying warm in a tent in Chile with these wonderful wool blankets, and
right,
it's just it's idyllic, really. They've got a tent that is the dining area, and that's full service, and the chef is out of this world. And then the third place they have is brand new. It was just completed in 2023, and that's called the Patagonia Baker River Lodge on the Baker River. And that's near a small town called Cochrane. And that's a drive-to place. It's a fantastic lodge with all the feel of Magic Waters Patagonia Lodge as well. The food is outstanding. Eduardo and Consuelo Barreto are the owners, and they have done an unbelievable job in finding the finest chefs. I mean, it's just, you're not going to be hungry the minute you're there kind of thing. And again, it's just, so they've got very different fisheries. Lodges located in very different fisheries that can satisfy anything any angler is looking for with respect to trout. You're asking about other species.
Yeah.
At Magic Waters Patagonia Lodge, there's a salmon run as well, a king salmon run. So you can go as these fish are entering the rivers and target king salmon as well on fly, which is, if anybody's done it, fresh king salmon, 40 pounders are an absolute riot on a 9-weight rod. So yeah, so they've got lots of great trout fishing, and there's a salmon run too.
Wow. So you guys are going to be heading down this fall, and then again in the kind of late or early spring, late winter. So what does that look like getting down there? Where are you guys flying into? Give us the high level of this.
Yeah. So getting there is surprisingly easy. It's a long way to go. For example, I fly from Toronto, so I'll get on a red eye at 10 p.m. the day before I'm supposed to be there. We'll fly all night, land in Santiago, There's about an hour and a half layover in Santiago where you jump on a smaller plane and fly directly into Balmaceda. And the Magic Waters crew will pick you up. And the drive to Magic Waters Patagonia Lodge is not very far. It's only about an hour to the main lodge. If you want to go to the Baker River Lodge, that's about a 4-hour drive through the mountains. And you get to go see Lago General Carrera, which is Chile's largest lake, which is crazy fishing for big browns, rainbows. And they've got a species of salmon in there called a cherry salmon. And cherry salmon are, if you think steelhead or chrome bullet silver, these things are blindingly silver. And they hunt in packs. They're a Japanese salmon that were introduced to thwart some invasive species in Lago General Carrera, but they haven't taken over, but they've got great populations, and they hunt like smallmouth do in packs. So if you see one cherry salmon coming in after your streamer, you can guarantee there's going to be 4 or 5 in behind it that are going to be fighting to eat your flies. And again, the water's crystal clear, and you can see this all unfolding on your eyes. So getting there is very easy. Getting home is generally just a day. You know, if I leave Balmaceda at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm generally home by midnight that day. So it's not terrible. And actually, and after that 10-hour red eye, it's nice to get out and stretch your legs and, you know, grab a bite to eat and that sort of thing. So it's not that difficult.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, and that's cool on the cherry salmon. So how big do those fish get?
They're like the size of like steelhead. So you can get them up to 15 pounds.
Wow.
You know, kind of thing. But it just, when you see how silver these things are, and they're just, like I said, they hunt like smallmouth, and they're just a ton of fun. And they seemingly come out of nowhere half the time too. Like all of a sudden, you know, there'll be a school of them with you, and then, you know, that's game on.
That's cool. So that's it. So you get down there, you get down to the lodge, you've got the great, you know, it sounds like an amazing lodge. What is the, talk about that, like the first day on the water. What do you guys, you already know what you're doing in November? Do you already have the plan?
Yeah. I mean, we're fishing big terrestrials right away. So, and Dave, I can't put my finger on why the fish behave the way they do down there. I don't know what it is. And Tom's the same.
Yeah.
You know, we will generally choose to fish moving water over lakes, but fishing lakes in this region of Chile with big dry flies like chubby chernobyls and damsel flies and dragonflies. I mean, these browns will leap 4 feet out of the air or out of the water to take these flies in a lake setting. Like, it is just.
Wow. So you guys are just casting, is this like off the bank, just wading out there a bit?
Yep. Casting to weed structure, you know, strip, pop kind of thing. And it's just, they're voracious. It's like they've never eaten before.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Wow. So you're fishing lakes, so you're going to hit the lakes, and then also sounds like you're going to mix up a little bit, lake streams, all that.
Yeah. So they've got a wide variety of fishing opportunities, anything from, you know, right behind the airport in Balmaceda, there's a spring creek that, without exaggeration, is a foot wide, right? But it is terribly deep. And that fishery is unique because, you know, Patagonia is windy. It's always windy.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can get your fly into that spring creek, that fly will not be there for more than a second or a second and a half before it gets attacked. If there's a fish in that pool.
Yeah.
If there isn't, or if you don't get a hit right away, move on, kind of thing. So, and then, you know, you've got access to big rivers that you can float, which are a ton of fun. And the rafts that they use all have motors on them. So you can fish up and down all day. The guides are some of the best fishing guides I've had the pleasure of fishing with in my career. They are friendly and fun, and 90% of them speak excellent English. And it's just, like I said, going to Magic Waters ruined trout fishing for me because it's the entire package. And that's why I love going back there.
Yeah, that's right. You've been back there a few times, and you're going back. And so in the March trip, that is more of like a hosted trip you got coming up.
Yeah. So I've got some spots available for that March trip. It's March 1st to 8th. And I'm actually bringing a camera guy down to document what a hosted trip can be like for anglers, right? So if you're on the fence about doing a hosted trip, whether it's at Magic Waters or, you know, if you're fishing with Rosenbauer down in Cuba or Belize, you know, this is what a hosted trip looks like and what you can expect. Anything from, you know, all the attention you get leaving your house to, you know, post-trip wrap-ups and pictures and things like that. And I'm actually going to have the guests that come down on this hosted trip with me actually in an episode of The New Fly Fisher. So it is kind of cool that they're going to have a documented section of the show that is on them for this adventure. So
right. How does that work for you? How does the hosted trip? Are you going to be the host, or how does that look as far?
Yeah, I'm the host on this one. I'm happy to bring people down and to fish with people every day. And then if they don't mind having a camera guy tagging along and a camera in their face for a day or two of their trip, then yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun. I love doing hosted trips because number one, you get to meet some new people, and as you know, fly anglers are all very, very like-minded. You know, you can become fast friends really quickly. That's one aspect of it. And then people that return, it's great to meet old friends back on the river again year over year. And it's just a ton of fun. So
yeah, that's cool. What is if you look at it, sounds like trout fishing is pretty good down there. What would be a few tips you might give somebody here listening that you've learned in the last 4 years since you've been fishing down there for these big guys?
Yeah, I think the most important tip that I can give to people that would be wanting to come down there is to listen to the guide. Listen to your guide, do exactly what they say, because they're on these rivers all the time. They know the behavior of the fish. And the second one is don't be afraid to fish big.
Yeah.
And when I say big, I mean big in every sense of the word. Big flies, big presentations, slap those flies down on the water. It's a predatory system down there where it's almost like they're competing for food, and it's just lights out crazy fishing. I mean, of course there's days that are slow.
Yeah.
Just like every fishery. But fish big, listen to your guide, bring an extra rod or two, just in case they've got rods down there, but just in case something happens, it's a long way to go to have a rod snap on day 2. Right. So be prepared. You're not anywhere near a fly shop. At Magic Waters, you don't need to worry about bringing flies. They've got thousands upon thousands upon thousands of flies at hand. The guides are fantastic in setting you up and getting you going, and making riverside hot lunches, and the wine. Oh my gosh, the wine is fantastic.
Nice.
It's just, I make it sound like it's an elitist place, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's very much come to the dinner table in a t-shirt and your flip-flops kind of thing, and it's all family style. So often the guides eat with you, which I love. Often, Eduardo and Consuelo, their family is there. There's entertainment that comes into the lodges at night in the form of traditional Chilean band.
Oh, wow.
A traditional Chilean band and stuff. It's a whole experience, and it's just heaps of fun.
That sounds great. What is so when you get down there, is this going to be like in that March trip, 7 days? Is that typically what it are? 6 days fishing, 7 nights?
Yeah, exactly. So, and I find a lot of people that are there, they'll fish hard for 2 or 3 days, then they'll take the morning off, and they'll go and they'll sit out on the back deck or have a hot tub and watch the rainbows and the horses kind of thing. Like you're on a schedule, but you're on your schedule.
Yeah.
You can do what you want when you want to. And if there's a fishery that you want to try, let your guide know, and they've got it. If there's a river down there called the Cochrane, and it is the biggest spring creek I've ever seen. And those fish in that river are the biggest jerks. They are so frustrating. It is such a technical fishery. I mean, I had a situation where there's a giant brown trout feeding on a weed line, and I had it was probably about a size 8, size 6 chubby Chernobyl on, and it was a long cast. It was 50, 60, 70 foot cast. I got the fly in the air. The fly landed 10 feet upstream from the fish. Tom and the guides were up on a cliff watching this fish's behavior, and as soon as that fly landed, that fish dropped, and I was 10 feet away from it, and he was just like, "Nope, I've seen this program before. See you later."
Yeah,
kind of thing. So and if you like that kind of fishing, if you like the technical aspect, it's there in spades as well. I mean, you can fish easy, you can fish hard. It's just a hoot.
Right. What are some of the big browns and rainbows? What would be a real big one that you guys would see out there?
A big one would probably go 8 to 10 pounds in a river, which is fantastic. Browns, you can get browns up to 30 inches there. There's some big fish that live there, and as you know, the bigger they are, generally the smarter they are. So,
yep. And I'm seeing, and you guys, it looks like on your channel, you have you got a lot of content on the Magic Waters. If somebody wanted to take a look at some of the stuff as far as videos.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done shows at all 3 lodges. So Magic Waters Patagonia Lodge, Magic Waters Baker River Lodge, and the River of Dreams. They are all available on YouTube. What we've done on YouTube
Yeah.
Dave, what's important is, you know, YouTube has allowed us to be free of the shackles of, I call them the shackles of oppression, where you've got a timeline with traditional broadcast that we have to deliver a 23-minute episode for television broadcast. YouTube allows us to open that up and to show TV shows or episodes that are any length that they need to be effective. So a lot of these shows are over an hour, right? Because they tell the whole story of what's possible there. So YouTube has really allowed us to showcase what that experience is going to be like. You know, we shoot everything from arrival to horseback riding in. We show the good fish. We show the screw ups. We show I was in Brazil a number of years ago and I got so sick I couldn't get out of bed. And, you know, we had to talk about that. You know, you have to talk about getting your proper shots. When you're going to Chile, you don't need anything.
Oh,
but,
okay.
You know, for in Brazil, you know, so anything goes with this show. And a lot of the feedback that we get from our viewers is that they love to see the hosts mess up.
Right.
Because every angler does it. Every angler whiffs on fish.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that we show that and talk about why we screwed up is a learning moment, right? And that's what we're here to do. We're here to teach. You know, Colin and I discussed before he passed that, you know, the core root of this series is education. And whether it's fly fishing education or travel education, but education is key to the success of the show. There's a lot of great programming out there in our space that focus on just people catching fish. And all it is fish after fish without any explanation as to what you're doing and why you're doing it and that sort of thing. And, you know, so I made Colin a promise that I would never, ever get away from the educational format of fly fishing, because as soon as you stop learning on the water, you might as well try golf.
Right. Well, let's stick with that education. So what would be, you've done a lot of traveling now with the new Fly Fisher. What would be a couple of tips you'd have on traveling? You know, this is, it sounds like not too bad of a destination, but anything you'd tell somebody if they're putting together that big trip?
Yeah. So I think the most important thing with travel is that it happens, and be prepared for it to happen, because, you know, whether it's a mechanical problem on a plane or the weather's too poor for you to fly in or out from a fly-in lodge, you got to just go with the flow, man. Like, you're a fly angler, you know, just chill out, you know, and roll with the punches. There are situations where, you know, we've been fogged in for 3 days, you know, up in Northern Ontario, and you can't get out. But I'd rather be late than dead.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So with travel, just roll with the punches. An important thing, you know, with a lot of airlines these days is luggage goes awry. And, you know, when you're traveling, you know, there's a lot of companies that have these fantastic travel cases, travel systems that you can carry your boots, your waders, your rod, and your reels all on carry-on, right? So bring that stuff with you. Never let it leave your person, so that if they lose your luggage, you know, you can wear the same pair of underwear for 3 or 4 days, but, you know, if your fly rods don't show up, you're in trouble.
That's right. Cool. So yeah, that's great. I think the travel tips, I think travel is always, you know, the reminder there is that stuff happens, right? You never know. And it's good to maybe even sometimes plan extra days. Do you recommend, if people are doing this for the 6 days, 7 nights, do people come down a day early, day late, stay longer, or do you just go down there for the trip?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, you're going to a different part of the world that maybe you've never been to before, and it would behoove you not to, you know, have a day on either side to go and explore. You know, spend a night in Santiago and go eat some food and catch some music or do whatever it is that you want to do. That's a great suggestion to see in other cultures. And Chile is just such a fantastic place, as I've said, for the people, and it's that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that is it. If you could, seems like travel always, you know, you plan your week or your time, and it feels like you always get done. You could spend another 2 weeks there easily.
Yeah, you know, I did a show a number of years ago. It was a different show. The show was called Guided, where I would do profiles of unique fishing guides and how they became to be guides. And I was down in Costa Rica profiling an IGFA captain named Joan Vernon. And Joan is a very extremely well-fished bill fisher. So we're in Los Sueños, you know, we're up at 3:30 every morning to drive 60 miles out into the sailfish and marlin grounds. And then we're back at 10, 11 at night. And I never got to see Costa Rica. All I saw was the water in the hotel room, right? So on those kind of trips, to have a day or two on either end, if you can afford the time, is a great way to be able to be fully immersed in the culture that you're going to see.
DeMark Lodge offers a world-class experience with one of the finest rainbow trout and brown trout fisheries in the world. Their family-owned and operated Missouri River Lodge offers comfortable accommodations, delicious home-cooked meals, and personalized service that make you feel like family. Days on the water are capped off by appetizers, beverages, dinner, and stories on the back deck and around the campfire. Book your stay for an unforgettable fly fishing adventure where memories are made and the fish stories are real. You can head over right now to wetflyswing.com/ondemark. That's ONDEMARK on DeMark right now to book your magical Missouri River trip. And on this trip, as far as we talked about, you've got a couple trips coming here. Anything else you would want to shed light on the fishing or anything that we didn't cover here today? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot to it, but what are you most excited about? Sounds like you're going to get some dry fly action.
Yeah. Dry fly fishing is fantastic. You know what? We should cover the equipment that that you'd want to bring down.
Yeah, let's do that.
Floating lines for sure, 5 and 6 weights for a lot of the stream and lake fishing. But there are rivers there that are giant. So if you want to bring a 2-handed rod, feel free to bring a spey rod or a switch rod of some kind. 11-foot 7 weight is a fantastic rod to have down there. A lot of the bigger rivers have a lot of water moving in them and with speed. So you're going to want to make sure that your reels are up to speed and have great drags because the fish are smart. They'll jump in those currents, and next thing you know, you're halfway down in your back end kind of thing. Again, floating lines, you can bring some sink tips for some of these fish as well.
What's your leader when you're using these big size 6 chubbies?
Yeah, so I'm generally using 3X leaders. And then if I need to go down, if fish are being real jerks, I can go down, to 4 and 5X for tippet.
Yeah.
To trick them. And then flies, I mean, if there's flies that you want to try, that's, this is the place to experiment too, right? The population of fish is so high that, you can afford to bring and to play and to try different things. Even though the Magic Waters family does supply known proven flies for you, don't be afraid to bring some stuff so that you can play. Waders are a must.
Yep.
Studded boots are a must. You can bring a wading staff if you want. And then just a great attitude to have a ton of fun. That's really it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think when you talk about these trips, obviously there's a price tag on it, but it feels like the fishing is definitely part of it, but it seems like that's just part of it, right? The travel, the getting there, the, talking to the people, experiencing the culture. Do you feel like that's kind of as big a part for you as the fishing and everything?
No.
No, it's not.
I'm one of those guys that you can't get off the river.
Yeah, so. There you go.
No, in all seriousness, it is a big part of it. And, and Eduardo and Consuelo realize that. That's why they bring the band in on Friday nights. That's why they do the traditional whole lamb dinner on Friday nights, which is unbelievable. It is very much about the culture as it is. And even driving to these locations, there is some windshield time involved and to see, fields of lupins and horses. And it's just, again, it's like stepping back in time, and that old weathered Chilean gaucho that everybody has this image of, with the Chilean cap on. Those guys are everywhere. It's just a riot.
This is sweet. Cool. Well, let's start to take it out of here. This is our casting and comfort segment here, and today it's presented by Heated Core. Quick shout out to Heated Core. They have a battery powered layer, like base layers, to provide consistent warmth on the water. And I've dealt with this a lot, especially as a winter steelhead fisherman. You're freezing out there. How do you stay warm? And so shout out to Heated Core first on that, because they're one of our partners here this year. What would be your tip? You're out there. I'm guessing it could get cold down there. How do you keep warm out there?
Layering is key. It sounds basic, but there's 2 things that get fly anglers no matter what. It's too hot and too cold. I would rather be on the cold side so I can warm myself up, versus being too hot and not being able to cool down. So when we're down there in the shoulder season, I generally pack a merino base layer for my top and my long johns. Merino wool has all the properties of wool, isn't itchy like wool, and wicks water very, very nicely. The polyester in that garment is fantastic at removing moisture from your body. From there, I will do 1 or 2 insulation layers. So on my bottoms and my waders, I generally wear a thick long john kind of jogging pant kind of thing, something that is also technical that can wick water away. And then I'll wear a puffy to keep warm up top.
Yeah, just down
Yeah.
down layer.
Yeah. I generally like to go synthetic with my insulation layer because if down does get wet, it loses its insulation properties. So I generally go synthetic, and then a very good weatherproof shell on top. And the reason why I like to layer this way is because if you do get warm, it's easy to just shed a layer.
Yeah.
Right. And the weather changes constantly in Chile. It can be, that's another thing we should talk about. Remind me about the sun. The weather constantly changes in Chile. You've got to be versatile to be able to maintain your body temperature. To that, a good waterproof backpack of some kind or a boat bag, such that if you do shed a layer, take the time to put it away properly, because if it does get wet and then the temperature drops, you're going to freeze.
Is that your carry-on when you have the waterproof pack? Is that your carry-on pack, or where are you putting that pack?
That is my carry-on.
Yeah, so that's what you're getting all your stuff.
Yeah, so that waterproof pack will have all my production stuff in it. Just like what we talked about with fly gear. Anything that I need to be able to produce a TV show will be with me on my person. So I generally carry a waterproof backpack as my carry-on, and then a rod transportation system that I can put up in the overhead. It's just so that if, and my camera guys are the same way. They bring, they'll put the GoPros or whatever, the DJI action cams in their checked baggage, but all their main cameras and everything that we need for audio and video capture, including drones, is always with us on our person. One of the things that you do have to be cautious of in Chile, and I cannot understate this, is the sun.
Oh, yeah.
The sun down there is, I don't know what it is, whether there's a hole in the ozone right above Chile, but it is sharp.
Yeah.
And you will burn in a Texas minute.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So buffs or zinc type sunscreen is a must. One of the places that people don't consider when they're fishing is under their chin. Down there, the reflective properties of the sun bouncing back up off the water and hitting you in the chin. I've burned my chin so severely.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't put sunscreen under there. And of course, the tops of your hands. So gloves are important when on sunny days, but please take them off if you're handling fish of any kind.
Okay. So so you're talking about gloves, just some sun gloves. Is that what you use?
Yep.
Yep.
I don't know what it is, man, but the sun is just ripping down there.
Well, if somebody's listening now, maybe we talk about what is one of the biggest misconceptions about maybe traveling down there, this trip to Chile. What do you think people coming into it? What do you hear?
That it's hard to get to.
Yeah.
Yes, it's far, but they've got it dialed in to get you to the lodge in a day, right? So it's getting there is not nearly as tumultuous as it may seem, especially if you can sleep on a plane, right? And you take that red eye. You're asleep by midnight and you wake up and you're in Santiago kind of thing. So it's, the travel time is not a deterrent, in my opinion, from traveling to Chile. I mean, it takes 12 hours to go anywhere these days by plane. So, that's the biggest thing I would say.
Okay. And if people are traveling down, as far as the trip itself, I mean, we've talked about there's high level, but as far as to learn more about the fishing, where would you send somebody if they wanted to learn that, we talked about a little bit here, but where could they, get prepared, see what this looks like, see more of the flies? Do you guys have some of that on the YouTube channel or on your blog?
Absolutely. The YouTube channel is the best resource to see what those 3 lodge experiences will be like. Last season when we were down there, we did 2 episodes down there, Tom and I did, and we decided that we were going to throw a little bit of a curveball into the mix, and we separated the shows into big rivers and big lakes and small rivers and small lakes. So you've got a variety of different presentations from our time down in Chile, where you can see what flies we're using. You can see what our setups are, even so far as bringing that new Orvis, 7-foot 3-weight rod down and playing with that on small creeks. So there's all kinds of information on what you need, what to bring, what to expect, to make it a successful trip for yourself.
Perfect. And you talked a lot about the drinks and the food. It sounds like everything's good. What's your top a meal if you down there? What do you think? What's the one that sticks out? You mentioned the cooking the lamb? Is it one of those?
Yeah, so the whole lamb is spectacular. They do a variety of different dishes. The one that strikes me as the best one that I've ever had was at the River of Dreams, and the chef Angela presented abalone, and I'd never had abalone before, which is a sea living creature of some kind. And it was probably one of the best meals I've ever had in my life.
Oh, really? What was it like? What was abalone like? What's it similar to?
It wasn't chewy. It wasn't like escargot. It wasn't chewy in that way. It was melt in your mouth, flavorful. The sauces that she had for it was fantastic. And I guess, I've heard in California that abalone harvest is not permitted, but they actually have abalone farms down in Chile. So it's a staple. Like they eat it quite a bit. And being from Canada, I mean, we don't get them. So it was just a treat to have something that I'd never had before, and just literally blow my socks off on how good it was.
That's awesome. And where's so the new fly fisher looking out? Do you guys have everything scheduled, like next content every week?
Yeah. So on our YouTube page, we do tips. We put up a new tip every Tuesday and Thursday on the YouTube channel. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, we put full episodes up.
Oh, okay. So tips are kind of like just shorter episodes, quicker videos?
Yep. So the tips could be anywhere from 2 minutes to 10 minutes. And then the full length episodes are what they are. So, and what I've found, Dave, what's interesting is that with COVID and the influx of fly anglers that have started fly fishing because of COVID, we get I might wait 2 years or 3 years before I repost a video from a previous adventure, and it gets a whole new audience, right? It gets a whole new set of eyeballs of people that, may not have seen it the original time it booked. We did one out of Fort Smith, Montana. I re-released it after 3 years, and in the first weekend it did 50,000 views.
Yeah.
Right. So that tells you that there's an appetite for content, and that goes back to the business model of supporting our lodge partners and our outfitter partners.
Nice. Well, this has been good today. I think you've got us excited about Chile. We've done a few episodes down south there, and it seems like this is if you want to get some big browns, rainbows. I mean, it seems like the diversity is crazy down there. Are you guys going to continue making trips down there in the coming years?
Yeah, we hope to. Chile is fast becoming on the map as a truly world-class trout destination, and it's just, I can't say enough good things about it, simply because, again, the fishery is basically untouched, and you can really go down there and get ruined by by Chilean trout.
That sounds great. Cool. Well, we'll send everybody out to the new flyfisher.com, and I guess if folks want to get in touch with you on any of the travel hostess stuff, where's the best place to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can reach me through any of the social media avenues. I manage the Instagram page, the Facebook page, and the YouTube page. Or you can contact me directly at my email address, which is mark.melnyk@me.com. I'm an open book when it comes to people calling and asking questions about destinations.
Yeah.
I've got nothing to hide, and all I want to do is make sure that I understand what anglers are looking for to best direct them into some of the experiences that we've had that we can talk to.
Yeah.
Right. So if anybody wants to talk fishing or ask any questions about a location that they see from the new fly fisher, we are more than happy to jump on the phone and talk. And
nice.
Hey, who doesn't love talking fishing, right?
Exactly. And where are you guys looking out this next year? Where do you guys have everything planned out? Where else are you headed?
That's actually one of the things that I'm changing now that Colin is no longer with us, is I'm going to start that process earlier. Usually we begin that in January of mapping out our locations, but I've already got, Pennsylvania, Ohio in the springtime, going down to La Paz in Mexico for roosterfish, going to go back to Pyramid Lake late season to dance with those giant, world's biggest cutthroat.
Right.
And then, we still have great partners in Montana that we'll go back to, Montana and Wyoming and Idaho. And yeah, it's shaping up to be great. I mean, trout are king. We've learned that, the shows that.
Is that the focus? You do mostly trout?
We try to, but there are niche anglers that, are diehard northern pike anglers, right? Or smallmouth bass. Or one of the things that I would like to expand on, because I think it's a very underserviced, two species that I feel are very, very underserviced, are Arctic grayling.
Yeah.
If you're a trout angler, fishing for grayling is exactly the same. It can be as technical as fishing for browns and rainbows, but grayling are a fantastic species to catch on fly, and they're stunningly beautiful. And carp. Carp are a riot.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody that's ever caught a carp would ever call them trash fish again. They're hard. They're frustrating. They fight like pound for pound, one of the hardest fighting fish in the world. And everybody water has them, right?
Yep, it is. That's good. No, I love that you're leaving with us with that Arctic grayling, carp. And that's our struggle too, because even though we do a ton of content here, there's always more species out there, and more trips and more everything. So we'll keep in touch with you, Mark, and we'll, like we said, send everybody out to the newflyfisher.com. And thanks for all your time today. This has been great getting a little insight onto your program and what the New Fly Fisher has to come. And excited to keep in touch with you.
I appreciate you, Dave, very much. I really do appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
All right, quick call to action. If you are interested in connecting with Chile, if that's something on your bucket list, you heard Mark, they're doing it this year in March, and you want to get some footage, some film time with the New Fly Fisher, check in with Mark right now, thenewflyfisher.com. And if you're interested in heading down there, check in with me as well. As always, Dave@wetflyswing.com. Before we get out of here, I just want to remind you, please follow the show if you want to get that next episode delivered to your inbox. And also, one other big reminder, we're heading down for steelhead. We're doing a big steelhead trip this year. We're not going to discuss it all because that's coming up next month, but we're going to be heading down with two of our biggest podcast hosts to one of the biggest areas to fish for steelhead, and we're bringing both of those gurus together on one trip just for you. So this is going to be a pretty epic trip. If you're interested in the steelhead trip this year, send me an email, dave@wetflyswing.com, or check in with me, and I'll let you know about the shop and the best way to get the insight in there. All right, that's all I have for you. I hope you have a great afternoon. Hope you have an amazing evening or a really spectacular morning wherever you are in the world. And I appreciate you for staying in all the way to the end. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com.